Everyone has a story, and I feel like every story will help and every story will heal. All right, welcome to the Art and Hustle Gallery Conversation / a dope chick's journey, spiritual journey. Welcome. We took 1 week off and we're back after you had just done this amazing big leap with Tenora. So give me a little bit about how it went and how you felt afterwards.
Well, I feel like I need to ask you because you were like there.
Yeah, front row.
It. Front row.
Yeah.
I can tell you this much from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It was better than I had imagined, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, I didn't really feel the effects of it until days later.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I was getting text messages and emails and calls, and the feedback was coming from left and right. And I kept telling people I couldn't really, because I was like the facilitator of the experience.
Yeah.
I couldn't, I was in it. So I didn't really
feel it.
I didn't feel it until I started hearing people, talk about what their experience was. And then when I saw the pictures.
See, it's always about how can you see it?
Yeah.
Because that's exactly how, I always push you got to record these podcasts, you got to record these conversations, because when you're in it, and then afterwards, we know we have a great conversation, but if you don't watch it later on, you really don't fully receive it until you sit there on your couch or whatever and watch these videos. So I feel like that might have happened to you too, where you're doing it, but unless you see yourself in the whole environment and then seeing the people, receiving it and how they're reacting, right?
Yeah. It was watching the pictures of people smiling, hugging, crying, laughing, and different women who didn't know each other. Just the visual of seeing the movement in the room.
Yeah.
That's when it hit me. And it was probably like the Wednesday after.
Yeah.
That it really was like, oh my goodness. So initially it was like, wow, that was amazing. The mechanics of it was amazing.
Yeah.
Knowing, okay, the setup, the preparation, the room, the donations of things, like all of that.
Yeah.
But then the actual experience of the day came around Wednesday.
So did that happen? Did Nora feel the same way too, where she didn't feel it until later on?
I think so. I think she's been on a high ever since.
Yeah.
She and we spoke maybe yesterday or 2 days ago. And I think, what happens with stuff like that is like you have this high moment and then there's like this crash.
Yes.
And the crash is like, man, that was so good. How do I do that again?
Yeah. How do you sustain that?
Yeah. So let's just say there's something in the works sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Because how I feel about it is when I came to your Sunday brunch, I felt the energy of the room and I felt the energy of all of these powerful women. And even though I didn't speak to all of them, I can just feel the energy of the room, of the positivity, the encouragement. And I know all these women have gone through so much because I saw somebody at your event where I was like, if Sunrise is connected to these people, there is love and there is a purpose and there's a connection that is connected to you that is very meaningful, right? I was like, there's love, no matter what, if they're connected to you, it's good and it's good energy, right? So when I was at your brunch, I was like, this has to keep going. There has to be something that keeps going with this, right? And you already knew it because you and Tenora had started planning your big leap.
We did.
So that was perfect because I'm like, I feel like this has to keep going because the energy is beautiful. And for us to keep that momentum, right? going. And so you did your big leap. And I was like, well, I have to go. Like, I have to figure this out and go, even though money is always an issue for me as a single mom now. I'm like, well, I have to go. And I'm going to bring my girlfriend because I feel like my girlfriend needs to be part of this to help her through it. And Lindsay had a great time, and it helps her like feel the energy of the room because she is like us with like a beautiful heart and soul, but she needs to feel it and be in it and walk in it. You know what I mean? It's like she's such a kind person, and she does that for everybody else. But I want her to feel it and know that she is an amazing person.
Wow.
Right. And so whoever she talked to at that event, I'm sure they'll feel that energy from her. So I'm happy that she came because she kind of has that same like anxiety of doing something where she's not fully comfortable knowing people.
Yeah.
You know? So I knew it was going to be a problem for her. So when it's always that initial like, okay, I'm going to do it. But then I'm like, is she going to show up?
Right.
You know?
And she was the first one there.
Yeah. So during break, I was talking to her. She's like, yeah, I know. She's mentioning, she's like, yeah, I didn't know if I was going to be able to come. I was like, I know. I'm so grateful that you came because I know that anxiety that will overtake you as it gets closer. You're going to have that feeling of, I don't know if I can do it. So I was like, thank you for coming. I really so happy that you came because I know it was hard for you to come. So I'm glad that she came. And so that event, I feel like, I'm sure you know, has to just keep going because you and Tenora have a purpose, and everybody in that room, in that space, and everyone who's connected to you loves you and supports you and sees your light and purpose. And you have to keep it going because it's similar to how I feel about doing these weekly podcasts with you, where I feel like I have to shine the light on you because I want other people to receive it and feel it too. So I'm glad that you're doing it more on a different level. Well, they feel it in person now.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not just about preaching the word or the ministry of it. Also hearing your stories helps people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Stories makes you connect. So each person, that every time you tell us a story of just about you and how you felt and you were in this low and you had to push yourself way through it, that's what I think also resonates really deeply with people.
We all identify with it. Yes.
Yeah. And that's what's also the purpose of this podcast, is to show people like, no, I'm not going to be perfect on these things. I'm going to have my highs. I'm going to have my lows. I'm going to have a podcast where I'm super sad and depressed or whatever, but it helps you get through it and know that we're all human and going through it. But I'm so happy that you're going to keep doing it.
Oh yes. We had, I won't disclose all the goodness that's coming, but originally we had a projection of when we were going to do it.
Yeah.
I just feel like the universe, and my mom said this too. Like my mom was like, Sunrise, that was amazing. And you know, my mom is like a guru. She's 73. She's lived her life. She's been doing this work for over 50 years.
Yeah.
And she came to me and she said, Sunrise, it's incomplete. She said, I learned something. And she said, and I felt like there were people in the room that were like, more like, I'm not done yet.
Yeah. And that's how I feel. Because I'm sure you know, because you know me through these podcasts and you know what I went through Momentum. I still had that hesitation to jump in to talk, even though I know you know from the side, you're like, why is Linda not jumping in?
Yeah.
Like, I know you know that. And I'm standing there, I'm like, I know Sunrise is like, what the fuck, Linda? Why are you not jumping in? Like, jump. And I just couldn't. I was ready to jump. There were so many moments where I was ready to jump in and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
So my mom was like, she's like, you have to do something. And my husband said the same thing, like literally a day or two after. He was like, babe, he's like, I just feel like you have to do another one. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to do another one. He's like, no, like soon.
It has to be like consistently, like once a month.
That's what he said. He was like, he's like, I don't know. He's like, something's just telling me like, it needs to be sooner, that like, he was just basically saying like the energy in the room was almost like people were just touching the surface tip of the ice, the surface. And they were like, they peeled away a layer and was like, okay, no, there's another layer I want to peel away.
Yeah.
So just look out for that within the next 2 weeks. We're going to drop the next date.
Yeah.
And there was a huge request for it to be more than one day.
Yes, totally.
So possibly it's going to be 2 days.
Yeah. It
So
has to
you
be.
can come for a whole day and then maybe like a day and a half or a day and 3/4. But yeah, that people can have the first day and then be with each other, decompress, chill out at the bar, eat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like connect socially after doing all that work and then
Yeah.
come back the next day and yes. So
Yeah.
date is going to be dropping real soon.
Yeah, I think so. And then even how Momentum does it, where you can do a Zoom, has a continual support too to hear stories or something like that too.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like there's always that, it's all about the connections and then the people that you meet. And you're like, oh, but I really want to hear more about so and so's connection or whatever. Or, like a Facebook group too, where people can chat on there also.
Oh yes. Yes, that is definitely in the works. So that everyone can stay connected with one. Yep.
Connected. Yes.
Oh yeah. It was great. And I'm hoping that our listeners will, in the tri-state area, it was worth the trip. We had people come as far as Maryland and Pennsylvania and Virginia. And I'm hoping that, people don't allow distance to be their excuse. And I would also say people should buddy up, right? So if you're coming, bring a friend. Like, don't just think about yourself. Like, who's willing to take the ride with me? Who's willing to share the cost with me, with whether it's gas and tolls? Who's willing to share a room with me? And I think that makes all the difference. Like, I believe a lot of people that were there didn't come by themselves. I think a few people may have been loners, but for the most part, everyone came with like a sister friend.
Yeah.
And it made all the difference. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, it really does, because when you have a sister friend with you, it really helps you get through the process, because really that's how we all get through this with our soul sister friends and anybody who's really our tribe of people. It's the tribe of people that support you through this. And really, it's just beautiful to see.
It was. It was. I love the pictures. Did you get to see some of the pictures?
I did.
Aren't they like?
It's beautiful. And so I know people recorded it and you were able to sit and like receive it and watch it.
I did. I watched some of the videos and I looked at some of the pictures, and it came flooding back to me, but it came flooding back to me not as the facilitator.
Yeah.
I got to see like people's expressions, and I saw it like as an observer as opposed to being in it.
Yeah.
And that made all the difference.
Yes. That
made all the difference.
Yeah.
All the difference. So what changed for you after? Like, what came up for you like after the event?
One of the main things is like community and like friendships and helping each other. And like we said, like the tribe of women, and just being able to know that you're not here's one major thing, like, because like in a room with like really, really strong women, like you wouldn't think that they have those insecurities. I think that was I'm trying to remember as I'm going through the event, that was one of the major ones. Because I spoke to one, as we go around the room and ask, what are some of the things that you're gonna, insecurities that you're gonna, either stop or whatever. And one person where she's a very outgoing, super outgoing person.
Yeah.
And she was saying some things where she's not gonna let these things hold her back and whatever. And I'm looking at her like, I am shocked
that's you.
That you're saying this to me, because you're exuding this confidence. And everybody in the room can feel this confidence, but you're having these similar insecurities that I would have. And then you talk to another woman where they're talking about those insecurities too, that they have to let go. And I'm like, wow. And then the more you talk to them, so like, then you have like 10 women or 20 women or the entire room who's having the same sort of insecurities.
Yes.
And you're not the only one. And that was a major one.
Yeah. And I like that one for me too, when I think about that activity, because it's also a reminder that you can have it and still push through.
Yeah.
It's when I think of the word courage.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people think courage is not being afraid.
Yeah.
That's not the definition of courage. The definition of courage is doing it afraid.
Yeah.
Right. But we go through life waiting for the moment that we're confident enough, we're smart enough, we're not afraid, we're not fearful of failing. We kind of think like, oh, when I feel all of those ways,
yeah,
then I'm going to do it.
yeah,
And the reality is courage is doing it even when you don't feel smart enough, when you don't feel like you're good enough, when you don't feel you're worthy enough, because they're feelings, but they shouldn't stop you from taking action.
exactly.
So
And
I
that's
love
like,
that.
just do it.
Yeah.
Just do
Cut
it.
that out.
Just do it. I mean,
let that go.
exactly. So one of the things, like, even though I did that, for some reason, like, I'm gonna be honest right here, I fell into, like I told you, I said, I think I'm falling into like a depression right afterwards. And we took a week off, which was good
Yeah.
because I felt like I needed that week off because I've been pushing really hard on this.
Yeah.
And then as we get to this week, I was like, still on the fence of like, oh my God, do I need another week to decompress and figure it out, you know? And so literally last night, I'm like, I mean, I didn't text anybody still. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing yet still. Like, am I gonna cancel or am I gonna push my way through it, you know? So this morning, I took myself to the beach, cried in the car. I'm like, no, I'm gonna push my way through it. I'm gonna text everybody like, no, let me know what time you're available. I'm gonna push my way through it, crying in the car. I'm like, no, whatever I feel, it's not going to help me by not pushing my way through it.
Oh, so good.
You know?
That is so good. And Linda, oh my, can I just tell you that is the feeling of healing.
Yep.
Sometimes we think, oh, healing is that I'm not going to experience that drag. Healing is the ability to like feel the drag, observe it and acknowledge it, which is what you did. I'm feeling some kind of way. I feel it, like I'm cognizant that I'm feeling this way. You did some self-care.
Went to
You
the beach.
went to the beach.
Yep. Got
And while there, you said, okay, I may not feel like moving forward, but I know that where I am isn't the answer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So like I text two of my tribes of women, told them I'm sitting in the car, I am sad, depressed. And one of them was talking to me. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna get out. I started texting people. I'm like, okay, are you still available? Let's do it whatever time you're available, right? And then I texted all the other people that I know want to do the podcast with me. And I'm like, okay, started setting up appointments. Go outside, start talking to, another person that I do my weeklies with. I'm like, okay, well, where's this coming from? Why am I sad? Right. So then I'm like, it must be possibly, it's also linked to writing my book. So it has to be connected to that of like the resurfacing of everything. And I realized like, well, one good thing is that one momentum of progress of my book is that instead of just the stories that I'm going to tell, I rewrote one of them as like a poem. So now the poem is similar to the abstractness of my art.
Love it.
So now it correlates a little better as opposed to the art, which is super like immersive and visual, where you feel the art and colors and everything is tactile. And then the story was very like, here's the memory, here's the flashback, very like, I don't know how you say it, just clear cut, simple, right? So when I rewrote it as an abstract poem, it just sounded and felt so much better for me. So I'm like, oh, that's perfect. I think that's the direction I'm going to take it in. So then that is the progression of at least how I'm working on it as well. And I also sent it out to like two of my tribes of women who looked at it as well. And they really like the direction it's going to. So at least there's progress there.
Yeah.
And so every time I get into the state of being sad, I would just realize like it's got to be coming from the book and the unpacking of that, and then everything else that affects everything else. My relationship with people and how I'm feeling day to day, like it's just going to correspond and move along there. So I have to push my way through it today and jump on these podcasts and like, well, I'm just gonna have to get on.
It's the journey.
Yeah.
It's the journey. And we think that I say this all the time. We think the journey is like a series of, I'm just flowing all the time.
Yeah.
But it's a series of stop and stops. I mean,
Yeah.
start and stops, right? You
Yeah, it's gonna
start,
be
you
up and
stop.
down. It's gonna be up
It's
and down.
up and down. It's not linear. It is like it's like you said, it's like an ocean. It's like a
Yeah.
wave.
Yeah.
It'll go out and it'll come back in. It'll
And
go
you're
out.
gonna crash. You're gonna crash into the shore.
Yeah. But like the certainty of a wave, we never ever, I was telling somebody this the other day, we never stand at the shoreline
Yeah.
and ever think to ourselves, oh, I wonder if the tide is going to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever does that,
Yeah.
because there's a certainty in nature that is what the tide does. Now, the intensity of the tide is where we're unclear, right? Like, is it going to come in crashing? Is it an easy tide that comes in? Is it fast? But no one ever stops to wonder, like, I don't think there's a tide coming in today.
Yeah.
No, we know that it's going to come in and it's going to go out. And so we have to start programming ourselves to understand that that's life.
Yeah.
Money flows in and it flows out.
Mm-hmm.
Love flows in and it flows out. Relationships flow in and some of them flow out. I'm dealing with it's funny that you say after you kind of felt this kind of dip.
Yeah.
I always say the dip is the part of ourselves that wants to protect us,
Mm-hmm.
trying to take over.
Yeah.
So I believe there's a part of us that is acutely aware of our gift, our talent, and how powerful we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the vision that Linda has about her book and her event, and it excites you.
Yeah.
Then there's this part of you that wants to protect you and say, oh, no, you don't want to do that, because you may fail. It may not work. You may not, the book may not look the way you want it to look, right? And it's almost like a constant fight.
Yeah.
Between who and what God is calling us to be and this ego that's trying to protect us.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the ego that doesn't want you to get hurt, of like.
Yeah, the ego that doesn't want you to be embarrassed.
Yes.
That wants you to maintain pride.
Mm-hmm.
So I was feeling a little bit of that dip as well.
Yeah.
Like I felt it too.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was energetically, maybe it was in the universe, maybe it was, because I have spoken to a lot of people who felt similar last week, like this kind of drain.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the drains on me are some friendships that I am clear I have to let go of.
Mm-hmm.
They are pulling and they're taking from me.
Really?
In a way where I'm realizing I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to fight for a friendship or a relationship that feels like a struggle.
That's really interesting that you say that.
Why?
Because that's how I feel.
Oh God, our conversations are always so good. So I think, and this is what I think is so important for our listeners. I really hope our listeners listen to this one. This one I truly believe is divine. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what I learned, and hopefully it helps you and it helps the people watching and listening to us.
Yeah.
For a long time, I have had relationships, or I have engaged in relationships where, not with all of my friends, but with certain people, particularly women who have come into my life, and I see them and I'm like, wow, they have so much potential, but there's something or an area where they need like additional love and support. Mm-hmm. And I will pour. And then somehow, some way, in my perception, not a fact, but I perceive it as the person like turns on me out of nowhere. And I'm like, ooh, where did that come from? Yes.
Like, what's an example of what they...
So someone that I thought that I was helping and I was being there for, like, turns on you and starts like speaking negative about you to other people.
Oh, really? Oh.
And not just speaking negatively, but lying. So this is the second person that this has happened to me with in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And so what I did this week, I felt that pull.
Yeah.
And I did what you did. I said, nope, there is stuff for me to do. I just came out of this leap. And clearly, there's this part of me that's like, Sunrise, you're about to skyrocket.
Yeah.
Ego's over here trying to protect. So I came out of that. But as I came out of it, it's almost as if the universe revealed that part of that suck was from people who either are paying attention to the rise. And I think I told you this before too.
Yeah.
People are watching you, Linda. They're watching what you're doing. And you can't always assume that when someone is watching you, that they have your best interest.
No.
There are people who can watch you and they'll be like, oh my God, I love what you're doing. But then behind your back, they're like preying on your downfall.
Yeah, like this conversation is perfectly divine because this is all how I've been feeling the past like week and a half.
Wow.
This is how I've been feeling for the past week and a half, where it gets you to the point where you're like, I don't know if I can go on today. But I had to push myself. So thank God I pushed myself, because this conversation is exactly how I feel.
And here is the thing, there's a lesson in it.
Yeah.
So one of the things I started doing was I started taking responsibility.
Yes.
For the relationship. Not responsibility for the person's behavior.
Yeah.
But for the fact that, have I held on to this relationship when I should have let it go? Have I made this relationship something more than what it should be? And now I'm feeling the drain of it because I'm unwilling to let it go.
Yeah.
And how many times did this happen to me? I told you, this is like the second person in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's so funny because I'm talking to my sister-in-law and we're talking about the situation or whatever. And my sister-in-law brings up the name of the other person that I felt the same way with.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law looks at me and she's like, Sunrise, this is the same situation as X.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about it. And then I realized, I was like, girl, you have a pattern. You have a pattern. And I feel like God was trying to help me break the pattern.
Yes. Oh my God. This conversation is exactly everything I'm feeling and going through.
It's a pattern.
Yeah.
It's a pattern. It's a pattern. And the pattern will stop the moment we decide, I don't want
responsibility for what you're doing. And that's literally, I started feeling all of that last night, and I still woke up with this like uncomfortable feeling. And I was like, well, like, really, who do you have to blame? Yourself. Cause like, who do you have to blame? Who's taking responsibility for us? Like you, as in me. Like, what am I doing?
And not only that, like, Linda, the biggest part is we have the power to change it. Yeah. And so what I decided to do, literally just 3 days ago, I released that person from my energetic sphere, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And not in a negative way where I was like, oh, I'm not going to be friends with them. I said, God, I'm no longer going to resist what the universe is telling me. Because sometimes the discomfort that we have in relationships and friendships, sometimes it's the universe saying, this has come to an end, right?
Yeah.
It's I liken it to like people who try to wear the same clothes from like 10 years ago and they're not that small anymore. And like you're buttoning your pants, but it's not an easy button. It's like a tuck lay on the bed button.
You're forcing it.
You're forcing it.
You got to go with the flow.
Go with the flow. And let it go and give God praise and thanks for what was.
Yeah.
And release it. And when I am telling you, Linda, the moment I did that a couple days ago, I felt like a weight had been lifted.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really feel like a weight has been lifted. And I feel like I have forever changed because I was engaging in a pattern that kept attracting these types of individuals into my life.
Yep.
And then I kept wondering, oh, well, why are they here? What are the, but the moment I took responsibility and I said, oh, okay. Yeah. I dropped the rope. It's like tug of war. I said, why am I fighting this energy? Why am I fighting this anymore?
Yeah.
Drop the rope.
Yeah. And it's beautiful that even you who, do these like leadership things and you feel like you wouldn't
Oh,
have these
yeah.
problems.
Oh, no, girl, please.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. How you said you woke up, like I won the nights this week, I couldn't sleep because it was just bothering me and it kept plaguing me. And I felt like my spirit was like, yeah, but girl, you doing that to yourself.
Yeah. And that's like last night, because like I've been sleeping, like I was having issues sleeping. And then after a while, I was good sleeping. And then last night, like there was something I just felt where I was just like, I can't really sleep in peace tonight. Like something's wrong. Like I couldn't really sleep in peace. I played
Mm,
some videos. None of the videos I chose were working. I still couldn't feel peaceful in my sleep. Woke up, still didn't feel peaceful. And I was like, so then I like, sat with it instead of just ignoring it. We're like, well, what what is it? Like I like to just go deeper into like what is it that's making me feel this way? And
yeah.
what's the trigger? And what, like that's how I felt. Where it's like, you know what? Something's ending and I keep fighting it.
Oh, that's so
Why am I
good.
fighting this end? Like
Oh
it's
my
not
God.
working. It's not literally working. And my body is telling me, like, if your mind and heart are trying to tell you something, once that's like not getting through to you, your body's gonna tell you, like, the fuck are
Oh
you
my
doing?
goodness. Oh my
So like I couldn't sleep, I kept feeling off. I'm like, I'm trying to listen to my body, like the mind and body connection. Where I'm like, my body's trying to tell me something now. Like,
and that's what I would challenge our listeners and our viewers to ask themselves.
yeah,
What resistance are you experiencing in life? And why is that resistance showing up for you? Because resistance shows up to teach us something.
yeah. There's a lesson. There's something that you are not listening. Your body's trying to tell you something. Your heart's trying to tell you something. Your mind is just going to try to trick you.
Yep.
So, what is the problem? Your
Yep.
problem is you. You are the problem.
That whole
I,
mirror thing, that
I
whole
am the
mirror
problem. Yeah.
and what we're attracting, that hit me hard this
Yeah.
week. It hit me so hard because we try to treat life as if it's happening to us, but it's actually happening within us.
Yes. You attract what you are.
Oh,
And I think it's beautiful that even
oh,
you having these human experiences that we are having.
yeah. Because I can clearly see when I've attracted amazing people into my life.
Yeah.
So why would I not take responsibility for attracting the crazy? Hello? It's the same law.
The same law. It's like,
Woo!
what part of me is attracting that?
And that's the work. That is the work. And I'm so, I don't want to say proud of you. I'm proud with you
Hmm.
because feelings and emotions and feelings of depression and all of that, they come to all of us. They
Yeah.
ebb and they flow based on what's happening, just like seasons come and
Hmm.
they change. And we prepare for warm and we prepare for cold and we prepare for cool and we prepare for hot. But the healing part that transforms us is our ability to notice the pattern and say, wait a minute,
Yep.
I've been here before.
Hmm.
I've been here before.
Yeah.
And I'm clear what I need to do to move from here.
Yeah.
And that's what you did. You were like, I've been here before.
Hmm.
And I know what it feels like to succumb to this feeling and this emotion for months, weeks on end.
Hmm.
I'm not going to ignore the feeling
Hmm.
because the feeling's an indicator. It's
Yeah.
telling me something.
Yeah. It's
So
a warning sign in your car.
it's the warning sign in your car. So I'm going to look at the warning sign.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to let the warning sign have its way and run roughshod over my life.
But that's what mostly people do is ignore
Yes.
those warning signs, do outsourcing of trauma and like cover it up with like alcohol, drugs, sex, being busy,
Shopping,
shopping,
watching TV.
Amazon,
Yep.
yeah, all of these other things that are not helping you figure out the situation. So since I have all the time in the world, I just constantly sit with it.
But listen, the fact that and I tell people this that I'm coaching,
Yeah.
it's not about what Kobe Bryant's coach
Hmm.
told him when he wasn't on the court. It's what he decided to apply
Hmm.
when he got on the court and nobody was in the arena.
Yeah. Oh, wakes up at like what, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym. Like, what's pushing him?
When no one was watching.
Yeah.
When no one was looking, he took what the coach said and he didn't just keep it in his mind and say, "Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that. I know how to do that. And then I'm gonna do that when I go to the next game and all the lights are on me and all the fans are in the arena and all the celebrities."
Actions. Actions. You just gotta move. You gotta move. You gotta just do something, move.
Even if it's one thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I drove, like, I think for this is the second day that I went to the beach because, like, so I'm just listening to the voices. They're like, because I drive the kids off, and on my way home, it's either I go home or go to the park and the beach. And I had this feeling like, no, you got to go there. And I ignored it for a day or two. And I'm like, no, I'm just gonna take a couple snacks, get my coffee, and just go there. So I was like, I gotta go there. Like, apparently I need to go to the beach, get to the
Be
water.
here, be in nature, be with the
Mhm.
sun, be with the water, and
Yeah, be with
hear
the water.
how God is going to communicate with me through nature.
Yeah. So that's what I did. I just pushed myself onto the podcast, pushed the conversations because I know it's the
So good.
conversations and the connections that will help all of us, really. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
when you're sad, go talk to a friend. Just keep talking. Look, like, I'm helping one of my girlfriends of tribe, like, she's going through a lot. And every time I talk to her when she's down, she's like, "Linda, thank you so much for talking to me." Or I talked to another girlfriend. She's like, "Thank you for talking to me because you
Mhm.
cheered me up, you made me laugh, or you just gave me a little bit of extra that I needed now."
Mm.
So we all need to remember that we're all here for each other. We're all trying to obtain the same thing, and to not tear each other down, like, from haters to people who are negative. Like, that's one of the things I'm actually trying to work through, is like haters and negative people, to
Yeah.
not let it absorb into my soul and get me down. Cause I think that was getting me down also, is like
Yeah.
lies that people are saying about me,
Yes.
haters who are saying negative things about me.
Mhm.
Like, I was trying to figure out how to, like, handle that, of like, you don't even know me and you're saying negative things about me.
It's so funny. I I posted this on IG
Hmm.
on my story, and it was just one of those things that, like, oh, it's gone already. Dang it.
Hmm.
But it was something, um it says something about a tree doesn't, let me see, I think it was Charlemagne.
Hmm.
A tree does not, what did he say? Oh, I'm gonna find it. But it's
Okay.
something to the effect of that a tree is not bent or moved. Oh, a tree does not bother with the shade of a tree that doesn't bring fruit or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So in so many words, like when you're rooted and grounded in who you are,
Yeah.
and there's someone else and they're not doing anything with their lives,
Yeah.
it's very, you can't get consumed by that because it's a
Yeah.
distraction. Oh my goodness, that was the other thing before we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
The other thing that came up for me, over the last 2 weeks was the fact that when we're on the verge of doing something really, really good,
Like
you'll be
me now.
surprised about, like you now with your book, you will be surprised by the distractions that come up to take you off course.
Mm. The devil's trying to take you off course. It's going to
You
test you.
have to be mindful of the distractions, and distractions could come in the form of people. Oh,
Yes. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how do I not let it absorb? But I really like that, of a tree that's throwing shade, that's not being fruitful, and is basically rotting.
yes, yes. And the part, in the end, it's going to be your journey, but I know what has worked for me
Hmm.
when people are saying things about me that I know aren't true, or they're trying to damage my character
Yes.
and
That's
my integrity.
yes.
Um, and it's crazy, but I do it all the time. I
Mhm.
remind myself that Barack Obama became president of the United States twice, and half of the country didn't vote for him.
And they didn't like him.
And they didn't like him. So I remind myself, 100% of the people in the world don't have to like me. And they're not going to, statistically, they're not going to. So why am I holding on for people who clearly don't know me to validate me when statistically it's not even supposed to be that way? And I don't know if that'll help you, but that has helped me because it reminds me, I'm like, Sunrise, if you're living in the world and you're alive, there are going to be people who don't like you, just like there are people I don't like.
Yeah, that is true.
But what I've learned in the last few years, I'm going to stop giving them my energy. So the energy that you are giving these individuals, it's taking you away from the blessing of your book that's supposed to bless the people that are going to read your book.
Yes. And that's the funny thing you said with Barack Obama is that I also remind myself, and I told somebody else this as we have 1 minute to count down, that I also, like, when I start having haters and having all this stuff, I also remind myself of the, the documentary on Netflix with, Michelle Obama.
Yep.
I'm like, how many people were trying to tear her down when she's just trying to support her husband? And they were just like saying all these mean things and making up stories and all of this stuff. I was like,
talking about her being ugly, like they were cruel.
The way she's talking, how she looked, all of this. So like whenever I start feeling down, I'll start rewatching those things that get me motivated and just, remind everybody, push yourself through it. You're going to get through it.
Because you think about, if they were to stop every time someone said something bad about them, the lives that they have touched.
Yes. Or that one, just like you said the last time, the one person that you touched in your girls conference that you did.
Yes.
That one person.
That one person.
Exactly.
That's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about your book.
The one person that's going to
help your event, and the one person.
Yeah. And I already did help one person. I helped Tam by doing my podcast, right?
Yes. And you've helped more than that, but think of it that way.
Yeah.
So whoever these other people are, they are inconsequential. They're inconsequential to the bigger plan and the vision and the goal that God has for your life. And confronters are a way of getting you to, and we'll end with this one because we have so much good stuff to talk about. But what I also learned is that people who confront you or come for you in a kind of a way, they're actually sharpening you to be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because without their disruption, without them being a distraction, you can't develop the skills of focus.
Yeah.
So thank God for them.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for coming to teach me more about myself. Mm-hmm. And now I'm only going to work harder at my podcast, at my book, at my art. You've encouraged me to work even harder because there's people who are like waiting on my work.
Exactly. So thank you to all the haters and the people who are spreading lies about me, because I know my purpose. And actually it's better that, like you said, it's better that they come now. So then I get stronger in my stance. So then when it starts to elevate that way, I'll be,
and they won't be the last. They'll drift away. You'll go to a new level and it'll be somebody different.
Yeah.
But like what my sister-in-law came to me, she's like, Sunrise, this person is that person.
It's the same
and
people.
I was like, got it.
Same person, just different, human forms.
And I had to ask myself, what do I need to do different to address this situation? Because I don't want to attack the situation like I did with the last person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
see,
there it is.
Look at that. See, I am grateful that I pushed myself to this conversation, because look at this is exactly where I feel and needed to get through.
Oh, and
everybody else needs that as well. So thank you very much. As we hit 1 o'clock, I'll see you next week.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
And let's hustle that healing.
I like that. Hustle that healing. There you go. Hustle that healing. That has to go in a water bottle. Yeah. Like that to go with your big leap.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm thinking healing, like everything art and hustle, but everything you've done has been around healing.
Yeah.
Hustle that healing. I like that.
Hustle that healing. finally getting back to me, you know, my art. All I want to do is art. And the other thing is that I love stories. So like to me, art is in everything. Your art is your voice, your speaking, your connection, you know, you could feel everyone's energy. That's your art. It's the art of living to me. So art and hustle to me is the art of living and art of it and everything.
I hope that you've cut that piece right there and make it your intro and your outro, because that was dope.
I just want to interrupt my own video here and let you know that if you can really help me out and like, subscribe, comment, because that really helps our algorithm and push to people that really need to hear this.
Okay, but before we round out, let's let everybody know about our inspirational journal. So make sure you go grab one. The link will be at the bottom of the screen. And, you know, don't just get one for yourself, get one for a loved one, and start 2023 like making big dreams, big goals, or even heal, because we like to call them our healing and inspirational journals.
Yes.
So
thinking of your master plan, that was the first one we did. So everybody like, subscribe, comment below, and we're going to leave that link to our collab, so that we're so excited about. And then there's going to be mugs too that we're going to put out.
Yes, grab your mugs. Grab your mugs. So next time you watch, they can drink out of their mug and they can write notes in their journal.
Exactly. I love it. So
to introduce themselves. So Linda, tell the good people who you are.
I am LindaLCheung. I am kind of a jack of all trades. I do a little bit of fashion design, graphic design. I'm a multimedia artist. I'm a single mom of 2 kids, divorced, and I'm, you know, the founder and owner of Art and Hustle. And I've curated some art shows. Now I've gone into the podcasting world where I want to talk about the art of living. And I feel like every story will help and every story will heal. And that's how me and Sunrise got connected, where I saw you on Facebook and I was like, I love your energy. You know, if you would be so kind to join me on my podcast. And this is how it's all evolved now. Now we do our weekly inspiring conversations. So I'm so happy to be here with you today.
I know, we're like cross-pollinating. Yay!
Yep. I mean, I love it because you have written your book and I was doing the podcast. And so since we connected, I was like, Sunrise, you got to do your podcast. I'm like, just do it. Just jump in. Right.
Yes. So for those who don't know, yes, I had this idea and it was stewing, and I may have recorded one thing during the pandemic. And then when I connected with Linda was like, just do it. Those are her exact words. She was like, just do it. She said, stop thinking about it. Stop overthinking it. She said, just press record and just do it. And so that first episode that everyone loves with Tenora from season 1, that would have never happened had it not been for my girl, Linda. So I'm so glad that she is on my side of the podcast to share her journey, mainly because everyone knows I do this show because I want people to feel comfortable in their relationship with a higher power. For me, I call it God. Whoever and whomever you are, I want people to feel connected to something bigger. And so I love having these conversations with people with different journeys. So I will start with my first question, which I love to ask my guests, Linda. When you hear the word divinity or divine, what comes to mind for you?
I want to feel like it's hope and it's purpose and it's spirituality. So I've always said, like, I never really wanted to call it just one name because I feel like all religion should be all encompassing. So whatever you want to call it, whatever someone believes in, you know, Buddhism or whatever, I feel like we're all trying to obtain the same thing, where we're all feeling, you know, where we want to be in touch with something, a spirituality, a divine, your gut instinct, so your intuition, whatever it is. I feel like that's what divinity is. It's all of us. It's all encompassing. So I feel like it's a little bit of everything. And it's also like our purpose and of our authenticity. So if we can all be more authentic with our purpose and our intentions, and to be in a space of who we are, mind, body, and soul, if we can be connected, then we'll be able to be more authentic, sit here with you, and to be who we are. So then there's less conflict around in the world, you know?
When were you
like finally getting back to me, you know, my art? All I want to do is art. And the other thing is that I love stories. So like, to me, art isn't everything. Your art is your voice, your speaking, your connection. You know, you can feel everyone's energy. That's your art. It's the art of living to me. So art and hustle to me is the art of living, and art of it and everything.